Vancouver, Canada.
Hong Kong.
Monaco.
Singapore.
Japan, probably.
Palma, Mallorca.
Maybe Hong Kong or Singapore.
Dubai.
Palma, Mallorca, Spain.
Hobart, Tasmania.
Australia.
Australia.
Perth, Australia.
Probably Perth, Australia.
Perth, Australia.
Why?
No comment.
Perth.
Thank you for answering.
The lightning round.
It's hard to get Carl down. Why?
None of your business.
So funny thing, Randy Kyle had the exact same answer. He said Perth, and he wouldn't tell me why.
Best port visit.
One I remember.
Yes.
Japan, probably. Yokosuka.
Yokosuka. Why?
Just it is mind-boggling when you go someplace and there's literally hundreds of years of history just walking through these spaces where people have walked through time and again, and tradition. It was just incredible to go to, because you here in the US we've got 200 years worth of history. That's like a drop in a bucket compared to these other places. And Yokosuka was just so rich in history and tradition. It was humbling.
A lot of people think I'm crazy, but I still like Singapore. I just thought it was so clean, and the people were and I actually signed up for one of those Rent-A-Sailor type programs where they took care of you, and one of the big wigs from Chevron Oil adopted us, and him and his wife took us out. They had a case of beer already there, and how expensive beer is in Singapore and everything else. And they went out and bought us steaks, and they really showed us around the town. For about 2 days, took care of us. All they asked in return is that we brought them a ball cap.
Vancouver, Canada.
Why?
It just was it was the most friendly city I've ever been in my life. They just treated you right. They treated everybody. Came off the ship. It was almost like pulling Liberty in the United States. Yeah, they spoke English for the most part. You could pull Liberty, and wanted to pull Liberty in uniform, because that identified you as who you were, and as a result, you could go anywhere in that town and you pulled Liberty for $0. Everything was free. Everything. Drinks, food, taxis, buses, everything. It was great.
Oh, man. Dubai.
Why?
Well, we did have fun.
We had just gotten done with the first Gulf War, and had a sense of accomplishment. We got a room, we all commiserated, and it was really a bonding thing. There were a lot of fun in a lot of ports, trust me. But that to me is the one I'll always remember.
No, you're going to make me look bad. Palma, Mallorca, Spain.
That would have been my second choice.
Yes. Only because me and Gonzo got to go to the BCM, which is the world's largest disco. And we were there we spent 2 nights there, and we had the best time of our lives. It was just amazing. So, yeah, I would say, even he would say, it was Palma, Mallorca, Spain.
Best port visit? Woo! Hobart, Tasmania.
Why?
Hobart is like the home to the Cadbury Chocolate Factory. That's number one. And it's a seaport town. And it's an island, of course. One of the provinces of Australia, across the Bass Straits from Melbourne, down there to Tassie. But it's got hiking trails. You can go fishing down there off commercial boats. And they've kind of got like the old pubs. And the seaport is very clean. and just the environment. The water's so deep and blue. It's very scenic, and it's got mountainous hiking trails. It's a beautiful place to get lost. I've always said that if I'm going to miss it, I would be in Tassie.
Oh my. Well, Palma, Mallorca, probably in the summertime, is as close to heaven as a young single sailor could get. Okay, Mallorca, Spain. Yeah.
Okay.
Trust me, but I never made it to Thailand. Okay, we were headed for Pattaya Beach, which probably would have taken the run. But we'd been 4 months at sea. I had $2,200 in cash and 7 paychecks. I was a young single E6, and we're headed for Pattaya Beach. And the Midway got hit and had to go back, so we had to turn around, go back to Iran again, to the Point Alpha. I sent all my money home, and the admiral says, "Oh, we're going to Singapore," and it just destroyed me. I was looking forward to an epic visit to Pattaya, but so I never made it there. So I'll just say Palma in the summertime is special.
Maybe Hong Kong or Singapore, because you hear so much about them, and Hong Kong catch a ferry to go to new territories, and
What he really wanted to say was along a Po, but he didn't say it.
yeah, okay, Tokyo, but Singapore. I mean, sat there with their flutes and the snakes and stuff. I like to think Singapore was real clean, and these Chinese were speaking with a British accent. I mean, it was pretty neat.
Australia, Perth.
Why?
It reminded me of the 50s, folks. Back when people were everybody was friendly, everybody was helpful, and they got together and helped as a community and everything. It just took me back to my grandparents' older days.
Probably Perth, Australia.
Why?
I really always wanted to go to Australia. I actually met this family when I first got there, and then they invited me over to their house. So I stayed at their house for like 5 days. I'd been losing a lot of weight at the time, but life tailored my genes to the way I was at the time. When I left, they even offered me a job. They said, "Hey, get out of the Navy. If you get out of the Navy, we'll sponsor you for a job." So they're just fantastic people.
Straight up, I have to say Hong Kong. And probably because I've been to Hong Kong the most. I think I've probably been to Hong Kong maybe 10, 12 times. So I know it, but from that many times, from 81 to the last time I was there, where it's just before they turned it over to the British, and seeing how much of Admiralty Bay was shrinking and how much it was all growing, and they had the tunnel and all that stuff going on for the change in development in there. Yeah, I'd go back to Hong Kong in a second.
Australia.
Where?
Well, I've been to Sydney, which was great. I've been to Adelaide, which was awesome. And I went to, what's the one on the west coast? Because Sydney's east coast. Perth. I went to Perth, and it was great. I loved that country. The other place was Japan. I loved Japan. Unfortunately, the S3, we didn't do that. PI was fun. We can't say anything about PI. PI is a lot of fun. But I would say Australia comes first, then Japan.
Perth, Australia, 100%.
Why?
My first deployment in 1981, I met some firefighters, and I became friends with one of them. And every time I go to Australia, I see him, and I stayed with him and his wife. And we were both young single guys the first time I met him, and we both got married. And I've been back several times, and so there's always plenty of beer there. And I like Perth a lot. It's a beautiful spot.
Perth, Australia.
Why?
No comment. No, I just thought it was just epic. We went down and we visited, this is real quick, we went down and we visited the Australian Cup, or the America's Cup, and it was in Perth at the time because the guy that was from Perth had won it. He'd beat out, I forget his name, it was Ted Turner, I think, that was racing at the time. And we went down there. We started giving them crap about we were going to take it back next year. And the Aussie that was standing there goes, "You better be careful there, mate, because if you keep talking, we're going to roll that thing over with a steamroller and call it the Australian plate." I just thought that was great.
Paul Toronto, you remember him?
Toto.
So, Paul Toronto, he was killed in an automobile accident. Paul Toronto heard about PI, and he couldn't wait to get to the PI.
How did we get from Monaco to PI?
So we're on a world cruise going, opposite way. So PI was going to be last instead of first. So we ended up in Monaco, and we get off, and when we got off for Liberty, it was near nighttime. And so we went and had dinner, and we had French wine, which is a little bit different than American wine, because it's less alcohol and you can drink it more. And so we left there, and we're walking the streets, and we're trying to figure out what to do because it looks pretty dead around here. And all of a sudden, here's this guy across the street. He's knocking on the door, and we're watching him, and all of a sudden, the slit in the door goes, and then the door opens up, and then he goes. And there were some gendarmes standing there, and we looked at Toto, and I forgot who was with me, and said, "I think this is your lucky time," So we went over there, knocked on the door. They looked at us and closed the door, and they let us in. Here's this dark ass stairwell spiral going down. I mean, it was as dark as his room was as we went down there. And we walked out, and here's this bar that's lit up. It's just a bar, but the whole room was dark, So we sat down at the bar. We went to, we bought a beer, and we're trying to sit there, and this lady comes up. She goes, "Is there anything we can do for you?" And I turned around, and the other guy I was with turned around and go, "Well, we'd like to help our buddy out." And he's all in on this. And he goes, "Please explain to us how we're doing this." Now, there was a couch that was over there, and there was a couple sitting on the couch talking. And if you looked under the bar and squinted your eyes, you could see a dance floor behind there, and there was a couple dancing out there by themselves. And the girl goes, "Well, first thing you do is you buy a Magnum champagne, and then you get to know each other and figure out what to do from that point, and then then you negotiate." And I go, "Okay." So we looked at the menu, and that Magnum of champagne was $100. And we looked at Toronto and said, "Not this point." And we finished our beer and we left.